All right, man, what's good with y'all boys? We back again with another video. And if you guys don't know what this is, basically this is simply just DraftKings, man. So this is only if you guys are going to be betting and you're going to be, entering in your fantasy lineups. Basically what I'm going to be doing for you guys in this video is telling you guys, just giving you guys a full breakdown of each and every single fight on this card and which fighters are actually worth it, that you might want to add to your lineup and what are some fighters you might want to fade. So we could jump straight into it. First fight is going to be Ode Osbourne. Oh, yeah, guys. Don't forget, drop a like on this video, man. I need you guys to do that. Let's get this video. Let's get at least 5 likes. But I'm gonna get into the video. Yeah, so we got Ode Osbourne going up against the UFC debut, Asul Amabayev. And Asul Amabayev is a really good wrestler. He's good at closing the distance. Pretty safe striker for the most part. He's one of those wrestlers that actually, goes for the takedown right away and puts a pressure on to, force wrestling exchanges. A lot of times nowadays we see wrestlers that for some reason they think they're strikers and they don't implement their game plan and they end up standing on the feet too long. But that's not the case with Asul here. He's gonna push the pace and try to get takedowns on Ode. Ode, he's a good striker, very technical. Has a little bit of an ability to wrestle, but I mean he only really just showed that in his most recent fight against Charles Johnson. And I feel like that was more so because Charles Johnson himself is a pretty decent striker. So I'm gonna have to go with Asul to win this fight, only because Charles Johnson was actually able to get some wrestling exchanges going on Ode Osbourne too, and I just think that that's Asul just is the one that's doing that. I feel like he'll be way more successful and he can win the fight, maybe even by stoppage. Is there value in putting Ode in the lineup? I say probably not, only because this is a wrestler. So even if Ode does win, I don't see him being able to knock out Asul or do anything crazy like that. After all, Asul, he has 1 KO loss, so there is a chance and a possibility of that happening, but I wouldn't put too much stock in it. So I wouldn't say fade Ode, but I really would have put him in, I would not put him in my lineup if I were you. Next fight up, we got Dennis Bazooka. I'm gonna just call him Bazooka versus Sean Woodson. This is a short, a short notice fight for Bazooka. Woodson had a bunch of different opponent changes, and I'm just gonna tell you guys right now, I would fade Sean Woodson. I would fade Sean Woodson. Like, he has good boxing fundamentals, but like he's very lengthy, right? For 145, legs are very skinny. So if someone comes in and they implement leg kicks against him, they could really do a lot of damage to him. We've seen him actually crumble underneath pressure when he fought against Julian Rosa. And then in his most recent fight versus Saldana, he really lost that fight, guys. Like, he really was supposed to lose that fight, but Saldana threw an illegal strike, which, allowed a point to be taken from Saldana, and it made the fight end up being a draw. Even though they took a point from Saldana, the first round was so bad for Sean Woodson, I felt like it should have been a 10-8 anyways, and then it should have just ended up being a 9-8. So it's like, do the math on that. I don't really think it should have been a draw, but Saldana ended up doing a stupid strike, so it was a draw. And I just don't see Sean Woodson being able to really do much. His striking slow, no real grappling, and I think that's where Bazooka's gonna have success here. He's actually good with the wrestling, so I can see him trying to force those exchanges with Sean Woodson, get him tired. And if you're pushing the pace on Sean Woodson, you can definitely get a finish, or you could even just win the fight by decision convincingly. So I would rather play Bazooka before I play Sean Woodson. Is Bazooka gonna be in my lineup? Probably not, maybe not. I'm gonna do some more research on it a little bit more to get a more definitive answer, but right now I would say no. Like, Sean Woodson's not worth it and Bazooka is. Next up we got Cody Durden versus Jake Hadley. Now Cody Durden is he's a monster, like, especially in his last 2 fights. He showed how well he can push that wrestling in place for the entire fight. He did look a bit tired against Charles Johnson against the end, but I mean, come on, 11 takedowns, 10 minutes of control time. I would think most human beings are probably going to be a little bit tired, unless you're like Marab or something that can shoot 50 takedowns. Jake Hadley is a really good young prospect. He's actually a good fighter. It's just that he's so prone to being taken down and controlled. I just don't see a way how he can win this fight, other than maybe by throwing up a sub, because Cody Durden has been susceptible to being subbed in his career. So if anything, Cody Durden might end up getting himself subbed. You see right here, he has a few sub losses, 3 in total on his record. The Flick one, that was really his fault. He was winning the fight. And then the Makayev one, I'm not even going to hold that against him. Like, Muhammad Makayev is a beast on the ground. He's probably the best wrestler by far in the flyweight division. So I'm not going to put that against Cody Durden too much. But yeah, I'm going to have to go Cody Durden in this fight. His striking is safe on the feet for the most part. He's never been knocked out before. Jake Hadley has some, good striking and stuff like that. But even in his most recent opponent, when he finish Malcolm Gordon. Malcolm Gordon is not good. Candelario was not good. Nascimento is somebody that was a threat on the ground with BJJ, and he was able to actually out wrestle and control Hadley for the majority of the fight. So I see Cody Durden being able to do the same thing. But I think that both guys have value here, because if you guys believe in Jake Hadley and you believe that he can get a sub or something, then it's actually worth it. But for me personally, I'm going to go on the Cody Durden side. I think the wrestling pace is going to be there. So I wouldn't say to fade either of these guys. I would more so say choose your side. I think whichever one of these guys ends up winning, they're going to end up putting up a lot of points. And I think it might be the same thing for this fight too right here with them, Damon Jackson versus Billy Quarantino. This fight is a little bit tough to really. Here's the thing, right? Billy, he has a tendency to dip his head, when he strikes. It's so bad with him. I don't know why his striking is like that. Like, he leans off to the side, like he just gets his head off the center line a lot, and it sets him up to be kneed or even head kicked. And I even had it in my notes when he faced off against Edson Barbosa, but I just thought that his pressure would be too much and he'd be able to melt Edson, but Edson ended up catching him with that knee that I knew, would be an opening. Sometimes Damon Jackson, he threw something like that against Sabatini, like a front kick, and he was able to end the fight. He was on a decent win streak right here. I give him credit mostly for the Sabatini win. I mean, the Argueta win, I'll give him credit for that too. That was, that's a good win. The Kwame Leclerc, I don't give him credit for that. Kirk is a bum. But overall, I think that both guys have value, but I think you should more focus on playing Billy. I think that his pressure will be too much for Damon Jackson. Jackson showed some really poor fight IQ in his most recent fight against Dan Ige. He wasn't trying to force the wrestling exchanges. He kind of just stood on the feet the entire time, had one takedown attempt, just put his back to the cage the entire time. And his coaches even told him, like, if you keep putting your back to the cage, you're going to get finished. And that's exactly what happened. So I just don't trust his fight IQ. And he's been knocked out so many times in his career, like 4 times to be exact, he's been finished in his career. So I just can't find myself trusting him too much. But I'm not going to sit here and say that he doesn't have value. There's potential that he could probably land something on Billy and get him out of there. But I would more so lean towards Billy as a pick. Next up, we got Carlson Harris versus Jeremiah Wells. And this is another fight, guys. Pick your side. Both guys swing crazy. Both guys have wrestling ability. I think that Jeremiah Wells is a little bit more polished on the ground. I think he's a Brazilian, he's a black BJJ belt, or whatever you want to say. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, black belt, whatever. That's what, Jeremiah has going on his side. And he has knockout power too. But I think that Harris has some KO power there too. He has some KO power there too. He's a little bit more wild though. And Jeremiah Wells is a little bit more polished. So I'm going to lean towards picking Jeremiah Wells. But both guys do have value. Like I said, guys, I'm going to tell you guys whether you should fade, if they have value, if they're not worth it. Both guys have value because sometimes Jeremiah Wells kind of extends himself a bit. And if the right person catches him, he could get finished. Same thing for Harris. It's only because we've seen Harris get finished. But he got finished by Shavkat. So it's like, come on, man. Like, Shavkat's finished. He's finished everybody. He's even finished Jeff Neal. So, it's kind of tough. But I just feel like Jeremiah Wells is going to be more equipped to win the fight. I think he can get the takedowns. I think he can control Harris. But it's going to be a tough fight, I think. I think it might be fight of the night, possibly. And it's another fight here where you got to choose your side, man. And I think that I'm going to lean towards the Jeremiah Wells side. So next up, we got Hani Barcelos versus Kyler Phillips. Now, I got a lot of respect for Hani Barcelos. Kyler Phillips had some weird substance abuse ban. He got, some weird stuff was going on him with some drug use. I don't know what he has going on. The only thing that Kyler Phillips has going for him in this fight, I believe, is that Hani Barcelos just got knocked out by Umar Nurmagomedov. Before that, Umar Nurmagomedov had one knockout on his entire record in his entire career. And Hani Barcelos hasn't been doing well recently. I mean, Trevor Jones is just not a good fighter. So Hani Barcelos being able to do what he wanted to do in that fight, it wasn't too impressive. He started off the career good in the UFC, but then, recently things have not really been going his way. And I'm just going to slightly lean towards Kyler Phillips. He has a lot of tools. He can wrestle, has good striking, very athletic. But I'm not confident in this at all, guys. I think that I'm going to slightly lean towards Phillips. But there's some type of value with Hani Barcelos because I feel like the MMA guys might be on his side. I don't know what Kyler Phillips had going on with that drug substance stuff. So sometimes the MMA guys could really, punish people, punish some fighters for that. So I would say that there's definitely some value with Hani Barcelos, but I'm going to slightly lean towards Kyler Phillips if I had to. But yeah, I'm not too confident about this fight at all. I'm not sure what's gonna happen. Next up, we got Ludovic Klein versus Ignacio Bahamondes. And Ludovic Klein, I mean, I think there's a tiny bit of value in him, 7,100 going up against a young fighter. Maybe Ludovic Klein could get something done, but he doesn't really force too many wrestling exchanges. He stands with the striking for the most part, and in his most recent fight versus Jai Herbert, like, he just showed some poor fight IQ. Like, Jai Herbert was landing really good strikes from bottom, and he didn't get up and reset. He kind of just sat there and just took the strike. So I don't know what was going through his mind in that fight. Very weird fight. And I think the only reason Jai Herbert lost was because of a point deduction. I think he need Ludovic Klein twice. So I think that's the only reason that he really even lost. So I really wouldn't even really put too much trust into Ludovic Klein. In terms of Ignacio Bahamondes, I think he should be able to get this win here. But in terms of spending 9,100 on him, I'm just not sure if he's going to be able to get a finish on Ludovic Klein. So I don't really know if it's really worth it to spend 9,100 on him. Ludovic Klein hasn't really been finished too. I mean, he has been finishing his career before, so there's potential there. But Ignacio has been subbed twice before also. And Ludovic Klein has 8 submissions on his record, so you never know. Like, those stats are important. You never really know. So I think there's a bit of value in Ludovic Klein, but I really do believe that Bahamondes should get the win. But if he's worth the 9,100, I personally don't think so. I mean, he has scored well in 2 out of his 3 wins, but I just really don't know if I'm gonna, if it's worth it to spend 9,100. I wouldn't do it, so I would say stay away from doing it. Next up, we got Alexa Kamor versus Tanner Boser. This is a guy that's 6-2, only 8 fights in his career, 2 years break, and it is, in his most recent. I mean, he lost to William Knight. Like, no disrespect, but we've seen what's been going on with William Knight. You could say there's been a bit of a switch with him. Like, all of a sudden, he just became a gun-shy fighter that didn't want to throw anything. I don't know what happened. But with Nikolai Negumereanu, in that fight, Nikolai just kept putting the pressure on him. Alexa, his boxing was good early, like very early, his boxing was good. And then as the fight went on, he just started winging shots and no real wrestling ability. So I just can't trust him to beat Tanner Boser. Tanner Boser, he has just a lot more experience. Yeah, look, he's took a lot of L's, like, right? But remember, guys, styles make matchups. So it's not, you can't just see that and just think, oh, well, styles make matchups. He got finished in his most recent fight. It was more so like a TKO, I would say. He didn't get knocked out. It was a TKO. He was trying to get back up on the side of the cage and was taking a lot of strikes to the face while trying to get back up, and the ref stopped the fight. So it's not like Tanner Boser got slept. Cutelaba is live to finish anybody he fights. Whoever he fights, he's live to finish them. So I don't really, knock him too much for that loss. And then all the other losses were to heavyweights. I mean, Ir Latifi, he used to be a former light heavyweight, but he's a big heavyweight now. Just wrestled him the entire time. Arlovsky, heavyweight. Cyril Gane. All the other fights were against heavyweights. Now he's back at light heavyweight. Alexa Kamor is big. There is potential that he could land something on Boser. You never know. Probably hurt Boser. So I would say there's some bit of value there for him. But I'm not going to, I wouldn't trust him, to be honest. But there's value there. And in terms of Tanner Boser, do I see him being able to put up enough points where I'm saying, oh, man, it's worth it? 8,700 for Tanner Boser. Maybe. I think the inexperience is like the biggest factor of that, but to be honest, I just don't see I just really don't see a way how I could find myself choosing Tanner Boser for 8,700 against a dangerous boxer like Kamor. I just believe that Kamor is his experience is too low. 2 losses in a row, 2 years break, but you never know. Maybe he worked on his game for the past 2 years. You never really know, but I'm not trusting it. Next up, we got Gavin Tucker versus Diego Lopes. And this is hilarious because Gavin Tucker is actually an underdog in this fight. And I get it. We just saw Diego Lopes put up a big fight against Masvar Ivalov. That was a good, crazy fight. But, I mean, it was short notice for both guys. What I took away from that is that, yes, Diego Lopes is dangerous. But Gavin Tucker has actually had a full camp to prepare for Diego Lopes. So he understands what he's getting himself into. I mean, how much time did Masvar really have to really dissect how dangerous Diego Lopes was? Not really much time. And in Diego Lopes' most recent fights, I mean, I have to double check right now. The most recent guys he's beat have had terrible records. Like, and it wasn't even in the UFC. So just because we've seen him put up a fight against the number 10 ranked featherweight, all of a sudden we're just gonna believe that he's supposed to be a favorite versus Gavin Tucker? No. I mean, the most recent guys that Diego Lopes beat in a different organization, the guy was 12-12, right? literally. And I think the other guy might have been like 13-13 or something like that. Yeah, the other guy was 10-10. So I mean, a combined record of what? 22-22? Really? We're gonna sit here and put stock into a guy that's like that? Now, I'm not gonna sit here and say that he's not dangerous. Obviously, yeah, he has 8 knockouts, 11 submissions. He's definitely dangerous. But I just believe that Gavin Tucker is going to be able to get his wrestling going, stay safe. Gavin Tucker is very technical on the feet with the striking, so I believe that Gavin Tucker is an even better striker than Masvidal is, and he has the ability to wrestle. So I just don't see how, you know, Diego Lopes is a favorite here, but it's recency bias. That's how MMA works. Is what have you done for me lately? Last time we saw Gavin Tucker was 2 years ago. He got knocked out badly by Dan Ige, but what did he do? He took 2 years off. You know what I'm saying? Let the brain rest properly, and I could put stock into that. So I would rather, you know, I believe that Gavin Tucker is a better play than Diego Lopes. Obviously, there's some value with Diego Lopes there because he's dangerous. So he could go out there, land a random strike, or get a random submission. And, you know, that's not impossible here. But I just believe that Gavin Tucker should be able to get the win. And I think he should be able to put up some really good points at 7,900. I mean, in his wins, look what he's done. 103, 93, 120. So I think there's some value there, more so than Diego Lopes. So take what you guys want to take with that. Next up, we got Dustin Jacoby versus Kennedy Nzechukwu. Now, this fight, Dustin Jacoby just showed some really poor fight IQ in his most recent fight, like just super poor fight IQ versus Mirzakhanov. In that third round, he could have pushed more of a striking pace. He started grappling for some reason. I don't know why. It was really, really dumb. He looked really lost in that fight. Like, he got dropped like twice. He was asking his coaches, what should I do? What should I do? So I just can't trust him. He got robbed in his fight versus Khalil Rountree, definitely. But in his most recent fight, he showed some really poor fight IQ. So I just can't trust him at all. And Kennedy is just super, super dangerous. He's super dangerous. I mean, this guy's just dangerous. Like, that's all I can really say about him. He's just dangerous. Live for KOs, live for subs. And I believe that he's a better value play here than Dustin Jacoby. Can Dustin Jacoby land something and possibly finish Kennedy? Yes, because Kennedy does get hurt, so there's a potential there. But going off their most recent fight and how their fight styles match up, I think there's more value with Kennedy. Me personally, I'm not gonna play Dustin, but guys, it's MMA. You know, I only go off of my opinion and my research, so it can get weird. It's a fight, you never really know, but I just think that Kennedy's more worth it. I'm gonna stay away from Dustin. He has some really poor fight IQ, and Kennedy showed the ability to be able to, you know, push the pace on the cage and the clinch strikes. He has power, lengthy, and yeah, I'm just gonna, you know, put more stock into Kennedy. Next up, we got the co-main event, Jessica Andrade versus Tatiana Suarez, and I truly believe this fight's gonna go terrible for Jessica Andrade. Suarez is just going to be able to, you know, enforce the wrestling exchanges. And the problem with Andrade is she just doesn't rely on being technical. Like, she just relies on trying to be a bully. And she's going to try to do that with Suarez here, and it's just not going to work. Suarez is super tough. I mean, we just saw Jessica Andrade put an absolute beat down on Lauren Murphy. She just stood there, and then she goes out there versus Erin Blanchfield. She gets taken down, and on the first attempt of her getting taken down, she tried to blame it on the wardrobe malfunction, which the wardrobe malfunction did happen. But I mean, she just didn't even try to defend the rear naked. And it's just like, there was just nothing there. And then in her most recent fight versus Zhao Yanan, she just got knocked out flat. So it's like, I just can't trust her. Like, she just relies on bullying people too often. And when she can't bully somebody, it just doesn't work for her. And when she's going against someone that has the wrestling ability, she loses. Erin Blanchfield, dominated. Shevchenko, dominated. She loses for the most part when she can't, you know, when she goes against someone that's going to wrestle her. So I would say that Tatiana Suarez is definitely the play to get the wrestling exchanges going. But guys, it's women's MMA. Make a lineup with Jessica Andrade in there. I'm going to say it again. If you're going to be a dollar lineup, I'm not saying she has to be in your main lineup. No, but a dollar lineup or something, any kind of lineup, you need to make a lineup with Jessica Andrade in it because it's women's MMA. And we can't be surprised if Jessica Andrade just goes out there, lands a one-punch KO on Tatiana Suarez. Like, we've seen crazier things. I mean, if we're going to sit here and we're going to watch Amanda Nunes lose to freaking, what is her name? I'm not even remember her name. Juliana Pena. And we're going to see Valentina Shevchenko make one mistake against, I'm forgetting her name too, Alexa Grasso. And they both lost a fight. And those are the greatest women's MMA fighters of all time. We cannot sit here and be ignorant to the fact that Andrade could definitely go out there and land a strike on Suarez and finish her. But it is what it is. Play as you play. Take that as you take that. Finally, we got the main event. Rob Font versus Corey Sandhagen. 5 rounds, 140 pounds catch weight. So I think we're going to see the best version of both guys. I mean, Rob Font was already preparing for a fight. He was supposed to fight on that Boston card. I think it was UFC 292. He was supposed to fight Song Yadong. Either that or it was a main event, one of them. So he was already in shape. And guys, I mean, this fight is going to be fireworks. There's value with both guys. But look at it like this, though. Corey Sandhagen, 9,300. In his wins, he puts up points. He does. He puts up points. So he's definitely going to have value there. But, guys, I'm telling you right now, Rob Font is going to have probably the best underdog value on this card. I'm going to tell you why. They're fighting at 140 catch weight, guys. 140 pounds. Rob Font, in all of his fights, pretty much, he puts up points. The only time he has not put up points is when he's going against someone that's a wrestler or a power striker. John Lineker was a power striker. He got finished by Pedro Munoz in a quick, submission attempt. He got out wrestled by Sun Tzu. I mean, even in his losses, guys, look at this. Jose Aldo, he lost 77 points in a loss, guys. Marlon Vera, 114 points, guys. The winning lineup, I can never forget this card. The winning lineup from this card had both guys, Rob Font and Chito Vera, in their lineup, guys. Rob Font is going to be worth the play at 6,900. His boxing volume is going to be there. He has the power to put you out, and he's going to be worth it, guys. Trust me, both guys are going to be worth it. You guys should even make a lineup that has both of them in there. I'm telling you that right now, because Corey Sandhagen does not have one-shot knockout power. I mean, the people that he knocked out, these were two guys that were on the way out. Like, let's be real here. Those are the knockouts that he has, the ones that were early in his career. I mean, can we give too much credit for that? I mean, yeah, those were good knockouts, but I mean, a prospect like Corey Sandhagen, they should be getting finishes within their first couple of fights or so. Like, if I'm going to be real, he's that good, so he should have got finishes early on. And then the finishes versus, I mean, Frankie Edgar's chin was gone. I'm not going to lie, that was a crazy jump in knee, I'll be fair. And then Marlon Moraes, come on, man. His chin was gone. Corey Sandhagen, hit him with a crazy spinning wheel kick. So that was crazy to see. He's definitely flashy. But Rob Font's tough. He hasn't been finished before. He's only been subbed once in his career, and Corey Sandhagen's been subbed once. But, I mean, Rob Font's not going to be going out there trying to get no subs. But there is a potential there. So that's going to do it for the video, guys. Yeah, let me know what kind of lineup you guys are going to make, if you guys are going to make a lineup. And drop a like, comment, subscribe, guys. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I done talked enough for this video, so I'll catch you guys in the next one, man. Peace.